All right, so today in geometry, we're looking at sections 4.3 to 4.5 that deal with triangle congruence. You should have already done the little triangle discovery lab on the NCTM website, that link that was provided. So now we're going to look at the notes. It says, in order to conclude that two triangles are congruent without having to show that all 6 corresponding parts of the triangle are congruent, you only need to show certain combinations of 3 pairs of corresponding parts are congruent. These combinations are called the triangle congruence properties. They are, the very first one, abbreviated SSS. So SSS stands for side, side, side. So this is side, 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 side. So this is where you know all 3 sides. That's what you know. So in a picture, you would have all 3 sides would have same markings. Okay? The second one is abbreviated SAS. This is for side, angle, side. So side, angle, side. So this is where you have 2 sides and the included angle. And what I mean by the included angle is the angle that's between the 2 sides you know. So let's say I know this side and this side. The angle that's between those 2, so where those 2 intersect is that angle up there. So I could have it marked over here. So I would have side, angle, side. The next one, the abbreviation is ASA. That stands for angle, side, angle. And this is 2 angles and the included side. And included means it's smushed in between the 2. So let's say I have this angle and this angle down here. So the side in between those, the side that they both touch, that one right there. So ASA. So again, let's say I have this angle and this one, that would be the side. Angle, side, angle. Okay. All right, let's go to the back. Number 4, AAS is the abbreviation. This stands for angle, angle, side. So angle, angle, side. This one is different than the last one because this is 2 angles and the non-included side. So this is where I have 2 angles and the side that doesn't touch both of my angles. So let's say I have this angle and this angle. So then angle, angle them this side over here that doesn't touch both of them. So I could have angle, angle, side. Okay. And the last one is HL. This is hypotenuse leg. So hypotenuse, if I'm going to have a hypotenuse, that means that it has to be a right triangle where I have hypotenuse and 1 leg. So right triangle, hypotenuse, hypotenuse, leg, leg. Right. So it says, once you've determined that 2 triangles are congruent, you may state that any of the other pairs of corresponding parts are congruent. We learned this abbreviation yesterday, CPCTC. Corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. We have 2 properties that do not prove triangle congruence. The first one is AAA. That stands for angle, angle, angle. So just because I know the 3 angles does not mean that the triangles are going to be congruent. The next one is SSA, so side, side angle. We like to say it's SSA instead of ASS. So ASS, that's like a donkey. So there are no donkeys allowed. So no donkeys or no bad words. So if it spells a bad word, makes a donkey, not allowed. It's not one of them. Okay? For each of the pairs of triangles, state which method could be used to prove them congruent. Okay, we have those 5, and then write a congruent statement for the triangles. All right, so put your pencil on one of them, one of the starting places, and then just go in order. Okay, so I have angle, and then what do I have next? Side, angle. We have the exact same thing in the other triangle. Angle, side, angle. So I have an angle, a side, and an angle. So I have ASA, 2 angles in the included side. That is one of the 5 that works. So that is our property, ASA. So now I write a congruent statement. So triangle. Remember when I first start, I can put any order. So I'm just going to say ABC is congruent to, now I have to make sure that it matches up. So A had 1 mark over here, that's F. B had, that angle had 2 marks, so that's D. So F, B, E. So now I come down here, this one, I have 1 tick mark, 2 tick marks, 3 tick marks. 1, 2, and 3. What do I have? Sides. So I have an S, 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 side, side, side. Triangle, again, I can start out any order. So this time I'll do CAB. Is congruent to triangle. So C up to A, and then A to B. So I went to the side with 2 tick marks, then to 1 tick mark. So that's going to be the side with 2 tick marks, and then to 1 tick mark, E, F, D. Okay. All right, last page, more of this. So here I have a side, an angle, and a side, an angle, and a side. So make sure you have the exact same thing in both triangles. I do. That is one of them, SAS, 2 sides and the included angle. So then my statement, triangle, I'll do ABC, congruent to triangle. So I went A to B, so I started with my 1 angle mark down to my 1 side mark. So that's going to be FDE. My next set over here, I have an angle, and a side, an angle, and a side. So I have 2 angles and then the side not included between them. So that's an AAS, the order, right? AAS, you just write down the order that they're in, okay? Consecutive order. That's one of my properties, so triangle. So let's do CAB this time. Congruent to triangle, so I went C to A, so 2 tick marks to 1 tick mark on the angle, so that's going to be DFE in this other triangle. Okay. All right, this next one, let's see, we're going to go ahead and add some letters, A, B, whoa, what happened there? So this is going to be A, B, C, I'll do D, E, and F. What happened to my letters? Okay, so I noticed that I have a right triangle. Right triangle, always check for hypotenuse leg first. I don't have to have a hypotenuse leg if it's a right triangle, okay, but that's the only one that will have hypotenuse leg. So right triangle, okay, I have a leg. The hypotenuse is directly across from my 90. I have that. The other triangle, I have a leg and I have the hypotenuse. So this one happens to be HL, hypotenuse leg. So then I could say triangle, ABC, congruent to triangle. So I went my leg down to my other leg, but that's not marked, so DEF over here. Okay. This next picture, these 2 triangles, I don't have any tick marks, but I have numbers. Okay, so over here I have all 3 sides that are labeled 4. In this other triangle, all 3 sides are labeled 4. Again, I've got a side, 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 SSS. That's one of my properties. I know the 3 sides. So then I could say triangle, let's say MNO, congruent to triangle, RPQ. Okay. Let's go down to the next one. Again, I notice that I have right triangle, so I'm going to check hypotenuse leg, right? I have my right angle, I have a leg. I have right angle, I have a leg. Go across. My hypotenuse is not marked. My hypotenuse is not marked. Nothing else is marked, so this is none. I don't know anything here. Okay, so I don't have any of my 5 properties, because I only have one side and one angle. Remember, we need 3 pieces of information to prove one of our 5 triangle congruence properties. So I don't have any of the properties, so none, and therefore I cannot write a congruent statement because I cannot say that these 2 triangles are congruent to one another. So my answer is just none. All right, next one, let's look at these 2 triangles. Triangle RST, triangle ABC. Okay, so what do I have? I have an angle, an angle, an angle, an angle, an angle, an angle. So AAA, but remember, AAA was one of the properties that does not prove triangles congruent. Just because I know that my 3 angles are congruent does not mean that my triangles are congruent. So this is a none, okay, because AAA does not prove triangles congruent. It's not one of my 5 properties. So when I ask for the property, you don't write AAA, okay? You write none because AAA is not one of them that's possible. Let's go to this next box here, triangle ACB and XZY. So I have a side, an angle, a side, an angle, and a side. So that's an SAS, just 2 sides with the included angle. So then I can write a statement. So triangle, let's say ACB is congruent to triangle. So I went from 1 mark to the angle with 1 mark. So that's X, Z, Y. All right, next one down here. So I have an angle, a side, I have an angle, a side, right? Or a side, side, angle. So I have an SSA. Oh no, look, that spells a bad word. That's the donkey. So this is none, right? Because SSA does not prove triangles congruence, okay? No donkeys allowed. No bad words allowed. All right, this last example, I want you to go ahead. I meant to have these marked, so mark that with 1, that with 1. B is going to have 2 marks. Have 2 marks, the angle, and then 3 marks. Okay. So on this one, where I have everything, right? I have all 3 sides marked and all 3 angles marked. You would think, well, I could pick anything. I could pick side, side, side. I could pick side, angle, side. If they have all 6 pieces marked, okay, this is a CPCTC. Corresponding parts, congruent, triangles, congruent. Okay, so then I could say triangle ABC, congruent to triangle, so DFE. All right, so that's our very first day looking at our triangle congruence, okay? The 5 properties that work, that prove triangles congruent, the 2 properties that do not prove triangles congruent. Your homework tonight is worksheet 4.3 to 4.5, worksheet number 1, okay?